For years, royal watchers believed they understood the delicate balance holding the monarchy together. Then a story emerged from inside Windsor that seemed to challenge everything people thought they knew. Reports began circulating that King Charles III had taken a dramatic step involving Queen Camilla's family, and almost immediately, one question overshadowed every other. Was this truly about protecting the future of the monarchy, or was something much deeper unfolding behind palace walls? Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and join our growing community of royal watchers, because this story becomes far more complicated the deeper you look into it. At first glance, the entire controversy appeared straightforward. Headlines suggested that King Charles III had signed a historic decree that somehow severed Queen Camilla's children from any lingering connection to royal succession. It was dramatic, it was emotional, and it was exactly the kind of story capable of dominating conversations across Britain and beyond. Yet the moment royal historians and constitutional observers began examining the details, something immediately stood out. The story did not entirely add up. That is where this mystery truly begins. According to reports, the alleged decision was made within the symbolic surroundings of Windsor, a location that has witnessed some of the most significant moments in modern royal history. What supposedly followed was a wave of shock among palace insiders, whispered conversations among aides, and growing speculation that a major turning point had quietly taken place within the royal family. Yet despite the dramatic language surrounding the claims, observers quickly noticed a crucial problem. Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopez were never part of the official line of succession to begin with. So if they were never in line for the throne, what exactly had changed? That question transformed an emotional headline into something far more intriguing. Royal commentators began looking beyond the wording itself and toward the broader issue that may have been hiding underneath. Perhaps this was never about succession in the literal sense. Perhaps it was about influence. Perhaps it was about visibility. Perhaps it was about defining where Queen Camilla's family stands as Prince William moves closer to becoming king. And that possibility immediately raises another question. Could this entire controversy actually reflect a larger struggle over the future image of the monarchy? When King Charles III inherited the throne, the institution entered a new era. The transition from Queen Elizabeth II's reign brought renewed attention to succession, legacy, and the long-term future of the crown. Every appearance by Prince William, every engagement involving Catherine, Princess of Wales, and every discussion about Prince George's future carried symbolic weight. Within that environment, ambiguity becomes dangerous. The monarchy survives through clarity. It survives through continuity. It survives because the public understands who leads today and who will lead tomorrow. Some royal observers argue that any uncertainty surrounding positions within the wider royal household can eventually create complications, even if those complications are largely symbolic rather than constitutional. Others strongly disagree and insist that Queen Camilla's children have always occupied a clearly understood role that never threatened the future of Prince William or Prince George. So why has this conversation suddenly become so intense? That is where attention begins shifting toward the relationship between different generations of the royal family. Reports surrounding the controversy frequently point toward Prince William, the future king, and Catherine, Princess of Wales. Whether those reports are accurate remains unclear, but the reasoning behind them has attracted significant attention. Throughout their years as senior royals, Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, have carefully projected stability, continuity, and preparation for the future. Their public role has consistently emphasized the direct royal line stretching from King Charles III to Prince William and eventually to Prince George. For many supporters of the monarchy, that clarity represents strength. For others, however, the discussion reveals something more personal. Is this simply an institutional issue, or does it reflect deeper family tensions that have remained hidden from public view for years? That question becomes even more fascinating when Queen Camilla enters the picture. Because regardless of public opinion, Queen Camilla's journey into the royal family was never simple. Decades of scrutiny, controversy, criticism, and relentless media attention shaped one of the most extraordinary transformations in modern royal history. The woman who once faced enormous public hostility eventually became queen beside King Charles III. That transformation required patience, resilience, and political awareness. which is why many royal watchers struggle to believe that Queen Camilla would be completely unaware of any major development affecting her own family. If discussions had been taking place behind closed doors, how long had they been happening? Weeks, months, years, and perhaps most importantly, who was truly driving them? Because the deeper commentators examined the story, the less it appeared to be about a single document, and the more it appeared to be about competing visions for the monarchy's future. One vision prioritizes tradition above everything else. The other emphasizes family unity in a modern royal age. Finding a balance between those two goals has challenged nearly every generation of the House of Windsor. Yet what makes this situation particularly intriguing is that another influential royal figure reportedly enters the conversation next, and that figure has built a reputation for directness, discipline, and unwavering commitment to duty: Princess Anne. And according to some accounts, Princess Anne's perspective may prove far more important than anyone initially realized. What role did Princess Anne allegedly play behind the scenes, and why do some palace insiders believe her influence may have shaped the entire debate? That is where the story takes an even more unexpected turn. If the first phase of this story was about questions surrounding King Charles III and Queen Camilla, the next phase shifts attention toward a royal figure whose influence is often underestimated by the public, but rarely underestimated within palace walls. Because according to many royal observers, Princess Anne may hold the key to understanding why conversations about succession, family loyalty, and royal duty have become so intense behind the scenes. And once Princess Anne enters the picture, the story becomes considerably more complicated. Before we continue, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and join us for future royal discussions, because the developments surrounding King Charles III, Prince William, Catherine, Princess of Wales, and the wider royal family continue to evolve in ways that few commentators predicted. One reason Princess Anne attracts such attention in stories like this is because Princess Anne has spent decades building a reputation unlike any other senior royal. While King Charles III often carries the burden of balancing emotion and duty, and while Prince William increasingly focuses on preparing for the future crown, Princess Anne has consistently projected something different. Princess Anne has built an image based on discipline, practicality, and an almost unwavering commitment to institutional stability. That reputation matters. Why? Because whenever difficult decisions emerge within the monarchy, many royal watchers immediately wonder what Princess Anne's position might be. Reports connected to this controversy suggest that Princess Anne viewed the questions surrounding Queen Camilla's family through a very specific lens. Rather than focusing on personalities, relationships, or emotional consequences, Princess Anne allegedly focused on structure. Princess Anne reportedly believed that the monarchy functions best when every role is clearly defined and every line of succession remains completely understood by the public. Whether those reports are accurate remains impossible to verify, but the theory itself resonates with many people familiar with Princess Anne's public approach. Yet another question soon emerged. If Princess Anne truly supported greater clarity regarding royal succession, was Princess Anne acting alone, or did Princess Anne's views align closely with those of Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales? That possibility introduces an entirely new dimension to the story, because throughout recent years, Prince William, the future king, and Catherine, Princess of Wales, have quietly become the central figures shaping the monarchy's long-term future. While King Charles III remains sovereign, many strategic discussions naturally revolve around what the institution will look like when Prince William eventually ascends the throne. Observers frequently point out that Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, have spent years reinforcing a clear narrative centered around Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. Every public appearance, every family photograph, and every carefully managed engagement contributes to that image of continuity. From that perspective, ambiguity becomes more than an inconvenience. Ambiguity becomes a potential vulnerability. Could that explain why some palace insiders allegedly viewed Queen Camilla's extended family connections as increasingly sensitive? The answer depends entirely on how one interprets influence. After all, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopez were never official heirs. Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopez were never positioned to challenge Prince William, Catherine, Princess of Wales, or Prince George in constitutional terms. Yet constitutional power is not the only form of influence that exists within royal circles. Access carries influence. Relationships carry influence. Visibility carries influence. And proximity to the throne often creates opportunities that have little to do with legal succession. That distinction may be more important than many people realize. As royal commentators examined the allegations more closely, some began focusing less on inheritance and more on perception. The concern, according to certain interpretations, was never whether Tom Parker Bowles or Laura Lopez could claim royal authority. The concern was whether future generations might gradually blur the distinction between direct heirs and extended family members operating close to the center of royal life. Prince William reportedly viewed that possibility very differently than previous generations. If that assessment is correct, then Prince William's involvement becomes easier to understand. But another question immediately follows. What evidence supposedly convinced King Charles III that stronger action was necessary? This is where the narrative becomes significantly more dramatic. According to the claims circulating within the story, palace aides allegedly presented King Charles III with information suggesting that individuals connected to Queen Camilla's family were seeking greater influence within future royal structures. Reports described private conversations, strategic networking, and discussions involving future ceremonial roles. Now, it is important to emphasize that none of these allegations have been publicly verified. Nevertheless, the allegations themselves became central to the controversy. Because if King Charles III genuinely believed that boundaries surrounding royal authority were becoming blurred, then the decision would no longer appear as a personal rejection of Queen Camilla's children. Instead, the decision would appear as an attempt to protect the institution from future uncertainty. And that interpretation dramatically changes the emotional dynamics of the story. Rather than King Charles III choosing between affection and cruelty, the narrative becomes one of King Charles III choosing between family harmony and institutional responsibility. For many monarchs throughout history, that has been the most painful choice of all. Yet perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this entire controversy is Queen Camilla's reported reaction. Because if Queen Camilla genuinely believed that Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopez were being unfairly targeted, then Queen Camilla would naturally view the situation as a profound betrayal. On the other hand, if King Charles III genuinely believed the monarchy required clearer boundaries, then King Charles III may have viewed the decision as unavoidable. And when two people arrive at completely different conclusions while believing they are both protecting their family, conflict becomes almost inevitable. That conflict, according to some accounts, soon spilled beyond private discussions and began affecting relationships throughout the wider royal household. Palace staff reportedly found themselves navigating increasingly tense dynamics. Senior advisors allegedly divided into competing camps. Long-standing friendships were tested. Private conversations became more cautious. Even routine interactions reportedly carried new political significance. If those reports contain any truth, then the controversy had already evolved far beyond a single document or a single decision. Instead, the controversy had become a struggle over competing visions of what the monarchy should represent in the decades ahead. And that raises perhaps the biggest question yet. If Prince William, Catherine, Princess of Wales, Princess and King Charles III believed they were protecting the future of the crown, why did the fallout inside royal circles reportedly become so intense? Because in the next chapter of the story, attention turns toward the explosive confrontation that allegedly changed everything and left Buckingham Palace facing one of its most uncomfortable internal crises in years. The deeper the story moves into the halls of Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle, the less it resembles a disagreement about royal protocol, and the more it begins to resemble a collision between two competing visions of loyalty. Because according to the most dramatic accounts surrounding this controversy, the moment that truly changed everything was not the alleged decree itself. The moment that changed everything was the confrontation that supposedly followed. And if even part of those reports is accurate, the consequences may still be unfolding today. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe to the channel because the next developments surrounding King Charles III, Queen Camilla, Prince William, and Catherine, Princess of Wales, may reveal far more about the future of the monarchy than many people realize. According to various accounts, tensions that had been building quietly behind palace walls eventually reached a point where private conversations were no longer enough. For months, perhaps even years, concerns regarding influence, succession, and royal positioning had allegedly circulated among senior advisors. Yet discussions can remain theoretical only for so long before someone demands a decision. That moment, according to the narrative, finally arrived. What makes this alleged confrontation so fascinating is not simply who was involved, but what each participant represented. King Charles III represented continuity. Queen Camilla represented loyalty to family. Prince William represented the future of the crown. Catherine, Princess of Wales, represented stability and long-term planning. Princess, and represented duty and institutional discipline. When figures carrying those responsibilities enter the same conversation, compromise becomes extraordinarily difficult. Why? Because each person believes they are protecting something essential. Reports suggest that Queen Camilla viewed the entire situation through the lens of family. From Queen Camilla's perspective, any move that appeared to diminish Tom Parker Bowles or Laura Lopez would naturally feel personal. After all, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopez were part of Queen Camilla's life long before Queen Camilla entered royal circles. Long before crowns, titles, ceremonies, and palace traditions entered the equation, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopez were simply Queen Camilla's children. That emotional reality cannot easily be separated from royal politics. But King Charles III allegedly saw the matter differently. According to the narrative, King Charles III believed the monarchy was approaching a crossroads where uncertainty could no longer be tolerated. Every modern monarch inherits challenges from previous generations, and King Charles III inherited a royal family that had spent decades navigating divorce, public controversy, media scrutiny, and changing expectations from the British public. From that perspective, King Charles III may have viewed clarity as a necessity rather than a choice. Yet another question immediately emerges. If King Charles III genuinely believed stronger action was necessary, why did the reported fallout become so severe? The answer may lie with Prince William. Throughout recent years, Prince William, the future king, has increasingly become the central figure around whom the future monarchy is being organized. Every discussion about the coming decades inevitably returns to Prince William, Catherine, Princess of Wales, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. The future structure of the monarchy is already being built around that next generation. According to some royal commentators, Prince William reportedly viewed any ambiguity surrounding future influence as a risk that should be addressed sooner rather than later. Whether that interpretation is fair remains open to debate. But imagine the situation from Prince William's perspective. Prince William grew up witnessing some of the most turbulent periods in modern royal history. Prince William watched public disputes become international headlines. Prince William watched family disagreements evolve into constitutional conversations. Prince William learned early that unresolved tensions rarely disappear on their own. Could that experience explain why Prince William allegedly favored a more decisive approach? Many royal watchers believe it could. At the same time, Catherine, Princess of Wales, reportedly occupied an equally important position within the unfolding drama. Unlike more outspoken royal personalities, Catherine, Princess of Wales, has built a reputation through patience, preparation, and strategic consistency. Kate Middleton rarely appears rushed. Kate Middleton rarely appears reactive. Instead, Catherine, Princess of Wales, has spent years reinforcing the image of a disciplined future queen. That reputation makes Catherine, Princess of Wales, particularly significant in stories involving succession and long-term planning. If Catherine, Princess of Wales, genuinely believed clearer boundaries were necessary, then Catherine, Princess of Wales, would likely support those boundaries quietly rather than publicly. And that possibility introduces another layer of intrigue. Could the strongest influence in this entire controversy have come not from confrontation, but from years of patient behind-the-scenes persuasion? The more observers examined the alleged dispute, the more attention shifted toward palace advisors. Because royal decisions rarely emerge from isolation. Behind every major development stand advisors, constitutional experts, private secretaries, communications teams, and trusted confidants. According to reports, senior aides allegedly presented information to King Charles III that painted a troubling picture of future complications if existing ambiguities remained unresolved. Again, it is important to stress that such claims remain unverified. Nevertheless, the existence of those reports transformed the public conversation. Suddenly, the story was no longer about whether Queen Camilla's children possessed formal rights. The story became about perception, influence, and the future direction of the royal family itself. That distinction matters enormously, because perception often shapes royal history just as powerfully as reality. The most dramatic accounts describe an emotionally charged exchange in which Queen Camilla allegedly challenged the reasoning behind the decision, while King Charles III defended the necessity of protecting the institution. Whether those conversations occurred exactly as described remains unknown. However, the symbolic meaning attached to those reports captured public imagination almost immediately. Why? Because people understand sacrifice. People understand loyalty. People understand what happens when personal relationships collide with larger responsibilities. And suddenly millions of royal followers found themselves asking the same question. If forced to choose between family harmony and institutional duty, what would any monarch do? That question resonated far beyond Buckingham Palace. Yet perhaps the most remarkable consequence was the atmosphere reportedly spreading throughout royal circles afterward. Observers described growing caution among staff, increasing speculation among commentators, and a noticeable sense that something fundamental had shifted inside the royal household. Whether the alleged decree was symbolic, legal, exaggerated, or misunderstood almost became secondary. The real story had become the damage left behind. Because once trust begins to fracture inside a royal family, repairing that trust is rarely simple. And as the controversy continued spreading through the media, another unexpected development began attracting attention, one involving public opinion, growing sympathy for Queen Camilla, and a reaction that Buckingham Palace may not have fully anticipated. That reaction would soon create an entirely new challenge for King Charles III, Prince William, and Catherine, Princess of Wales. Sometimes the most dangerous challenge facing a monarchy does not come from constitutional debates, political pressure, or even public criticism. Sometimes the greatest threat emerges from something far less predictable, the court of public opinion. And according to many royal commentators, that may be exactly where the story took an unexpected turn. Because while palace insiders were allegedly focused on succession, influence, and institutional stability, ordinary people were beginning to view the controversy through a completely different lens. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe to the channel because the next phase of the story shifts from palace corridors to public perception, and history has repeatedly shown that public perception can change the future of the royal family faster than almost any royal decree. At first, much of the discussion centered on King Charles III. Supporters of King Charles III argued that any monarch has a responsibility to protect the integrity of the crown. From that perspective, difficult decisions are part of the job. The monarchy survives because someone is willing to place institutional duty above personal comfort. That argument resonated with many traditional royal supporters. Yet something else was happening at the same time. A growing number of observers began focusing less on King Charles III and more on Queen Camilla. That shift mattered enormously. For decades, Queen Camilla occupied one of the most controversial positions in modern royal history. Public opinion toward Queen Camilla was once overwhelmingly negative. Newspapers, television programs, and public conversations frequently portrayed Queen Camilla through the lens of past royal controversies. Yet over time, Queen Camilla gradually rebuilt that image. Through charity work, public service, literacy campaigns, and years of consistent royal duty, Queen Camilla slowly transformed public perception. And that transformation created a problem few people anticipated. Because if Queen Camilla was now viewed more sympathetically than before, how would the public react if Queen Camilla appeared to be the injured party in this dispute? That question suddenly became impossible to ignore. Royal commentators began noticing subtle changes in public discussions. Online conversations shifted. Newspaper opinion columns became increasingly divided. Radio phone-ins revealed surprising sympathy toward Queen Camilla. Even individuals who had once criticized Queen Camilla were beginning to ask whether Queen Camilla had been treated fairly. Could Buckingham Palace have underestimated that possibility? Many analysts believe Buckingham Palace may have done exactly that. The royal family has faced similar moments before. The late Diana, Princess of Wales, transformed public expectations about how royal stories unfold. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, generated intense debate about institutional responsibility and personal experience. Prince Harry challenged long-standing assumptions regarding loyalty and royal hierarchy. Each situation demonstrated a simple reality: the public rarely evaluates royal controversies solely through constitutional arguments. The public evaluates stories through emotion. The public asks who appears sympathetic. The public asks who appears isolated. The public asks who appears hurt. And once those questions enter the conversation, outcomes become far less predictable. That reality created an increasingly uncomfortable situation for King Charles III. Because regardless of what actually happened behind closed doors, every public appearance suddenly carried additional significance. Every photograph of King Charles III and Queen Camilla was examined for clues. Every royal engagement generated speculation. Every facial expression became a headline. Was Queen Camilla upset? Was King Charles III under pressure? Had relations inside the palace genuinely deteriorated? Or was the media amplifying routine tensions into something much larger? Nobody seemed entirely certain. And uncertainty has always been fertile ground for royal speculation. Meanwhile, another development began attracting attention. According to various reports, Queen Camilla's reduced public visibility became a subject of intense discussion. Official explanations pointed towards scheduling adjustments and personal considerations. Yet many royal watchers suspected something more significant might be occurring behind the scenes. The absence itself became a story. History shows that silence inside royal circles often generates more speculation than public statements ever could. When senior royals stop speaking, people start imagining. When senior royals disappear from public view, questions multiply. And in this case, those questions continued growing. What was Queen Camilla thinking? What conversations were taking place behind palace doors? How were Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopez responding privately? Most importantly, could reconciliation still be possible? Those questions were especially important because reconciliation would benefit nearly everyone involved. King Charles III would avoid a prolonged public dispute. Queen Camilla would preserve hard-earned public goodwill. Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, could continue focusing on preparing for the future monarchy. Buckingham Palace could move beyond a controversy that threatened to overshadow important royal initiatives. Yet despite those incentives, reconciliation remained uncertain. Why? Because some disagreements are not about specific decisions. Some disagreements are about trust. And once trust becomes damaged, restoring it can take years. The situation also placed Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, in an increasingly delicate position. Publicly, Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, maintained their familiar image of confidence, professionalism, and stability. Engagements continued. Official appearances continued. The future king and future queen continued presenting a united front. Yet observers noticed something interesting. The more attention focused on Queen Camilla, the less attention focused on the original allegations. The narrative itself was evolving. Instead of debating succession, commentators were debating relationships. Instead of debating royal procedure, commentators were debating loyalty. Instead of debating constitutional structure, commentators were debating family dynamics. And that evolution may ultimately prove more significant than the controversy that started everything. Because institutions can survive procedural disputes. Institutions often struggle far more when emotional narratives capture public imagination. As public interest intensified, another group quietly entered the conversation. Constitutional experts, historians, and senior commentators who began asking whether this controversy revealed something much larger about the future direction of the monarchy itself. Was this merely a family disagreement amplified by media attention? Or was this the first visible sign of a deeper transformation taking place inside the House of Windsor as power gradually shifts from King Charles III toward Prince William, the future king? That question would soon become the central issue dominating the next chapter of this extraordinary story. If there is one lesson that emerges from every major royal controversy, it is that the immediate headlines rarely tell the full story. The real significance only becomes visible months or even years later when historians begin connecting individual events into a larger narrative. And that may be exactly where the story ultimately leads. Because regardless of whether every allegation surrounding King Charles III, Queen Camilla, Prince William, and Catherine, Princess of Wales, proves accurate, the debate itself has exposed something important about the modern monarchy. It has exposed a growing tension between tradition and transformation. Before we reach the conclusion, make sure you subscribe to the channel and join our community of royal watchers, because the next chapter involving King Charles III, Prince William, Catherine, Princess of Wales, Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the future of the royal family could be even more consequential than the story we have explored today. As public discussion continued, many commentators stopped focusing on the alleged decree and started focusing on a much larger question. What kind of monarchy will Prince William inherit? That question has quietly hovered over nearly every major royal development in recent years. Every decision made by King Charles III is now viewed not only through the lens of the present reign, but also through the lens of Prince William's future reign. That reality changes everything. For decades, the royal family operated under the stabilizing presence of Queen Elizabeth II. The late monarch represented continuity across generations, political eras, and social transformations. Today, however, the monarchy is navigating a transition period in which King Charles III is leading the institution, while Prince William, the future king, is increasingly becoming the face of its long-term future. Could this controversy simply be one more symptom of that transition? Many royal observers believe it could be. What makes the situation especially fascinating is that Catherine, Princess of Wales, appears central to that future vision. Throughout years of public service, Catherine, Princess of Wales, has become one of the most respected members of the royal family. Kate Middleton's popularity extends across generations, political viewpoints, and national boundaries. Whenever discussions arise about stability, continuity, and public trust, Catherine, Princess of Wales, is almost always part of the conversation. That influence matters, because if Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, represent the monarchy's future, every debate involving succession, hierarchy, and family structure inevitably becomes connected to their long-term plans. Yet another question remains unanswered. What happens if Queen Camilla refuses to quietly accept the narrative that has emerged around this controversy? That possibility continues to intrigue royal commentators. Queen Camilla spent decades fighting for acceptance within the royal family and among the British public. Queen Camilla survived media storms that would have overwhelmed many public figures. Queen Camilla endured criticism, controversy, and relentless scrutiny before eventually becoming queen beside King Charles III. Individuals who survive experiences like that rarely disappear without a voice. And that is why so many observers continue watching closely. Not because of what Queen Camilla has said, but because of what Queen Camilla has not said. Silence can be strategic. Silence can be temporary. Silence can be the calm before an entirely new phase of a story. Could Queen Camilla eventually address the controversy directly? Could Queen Camilla choose reconciliation instead of confrontation? Could King Charles III and Queen Camilla quietly resolve tensions away from public view? At this stage, nobody outside the palace truly knows. What we do know is that every major figure involved faces significant stakes. King Charles III must protect the credibility of the crown. Queen Camilla must protect her family and reputation. Prince William must prepare for a future reign. Catherine, Princess of Wales, must help guide the monarchy toward long-term stability. Princess and remains committed to duty and institutional continuity. Each objective sounds reasonable on its own. The challenge emerges when those objectives collide. That collision is what makes the story so compelling. It is not merely a debate about succession. It is a debate about loyalty. It is a debate about legacy. It is a debate about whether a modern monarchy can successfully balance personal relationships with institutional responsibility. And perhaps that is why the story continues attracting attention around the world. Because beneath the crowns, titles, ceremonies, and palace walls are human beings confronting choices that have no perfect solutions. As we reach the end of today's discussion, the central question remains remarkably similar to the one that started everything. Did King Charles III take a necessary step to protect the future of the monarchy, or did King Charles III risk creating deeper divisions within the royal family? Some observers believe King Charles III acted out of duty. Other observers believe Queen Camilla became the unfair casualty of a larger power struggle. Still others believe the truth lies somewhere in between, hidden behind palace doors where only a handful of people know what really happened. And perhaps that uncertainty is exactly why this story refuses to fade away. What do you think? Do you believe King Charles III was protecting the crown? Do you believe Queen Camilla was treated unfairly? Do you think Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, were simply preparing for the future? Or do you think something much larger is happening behind the scenes within Buckingham Palace? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because we would genuinely love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the royal family, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next royal investigation. Because when it comes to King Charles III, Queen Camilla, Prince William, Catherine, Princess of Wales, Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the future of the monarchy, the next chapter is often the most surprising one of all.